body that are literally produced by nature. But when a man and woman grows up and becomes to the age of accountability, that means you now can discern the difference between what's right and what's wrong. And when you get to the point that you can tell what's right and what's wrong, and you make a decision to do what's wrong, that's when you sin. And when you sin, you have to find a way, God's way, to get rid of that sin. Because the longer you abide in sin, in the end you're going to die a spiritual death. And a spiritual death is deeper than a physical death. With the physical death, we lay your body in a coffin. With physical death, lay the coffin in the ground. With physical death, we put earth over the coffin in the ground. And that's the end of your physical body. A physical death is nothing compared to a spiritual death. Because there is a part of me that's going to live on beyond this body. As a matter of fact, when you look at me, you're not really looking at the essence of me. You're looking at the house that I live in. I'm going to inhabit this old house for as long as God allows me to. But one day, He's going to serve me an eviction notice. I've got to leave this old house. And my soul will go on to spend eternity somewhere. And if I lose my soul, the death that inhabits my soul, if I've lost it, is heavier than a physical death. It's a death where the Bible uses some physical images to describe spiritual agony. He says there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. I understand because I know what God's word says, that when I descend from this body, I'm leaving my teeth in this body. And so when I get to the other side, and if I've lost my soul, to describe the anguish, to describe the pain, to describe the agony, he uses some physical characteristics, because when something hurts me down to my core, the way I find relief is to grind my teeth together. But in that day, you ain't gonna have no teeth to grind. In that day, you ain't gonna be able to clench your teeth together and to grind them. There is a pain that's heavier than physical pain. Because there is a death that's deeper than physical death. And as long as you remain unsaved, you will die a physical and a spiritual death. Lastly, my friends, if you remain unsaved, you will inherit death rather than life. Just finished talking about what it means to die a spiritual death. Therefore, I want to close by looking at what it means to have life. Jesus said in John 10 that He knew that the thief was coming to steal and to kill and to destroy.
That's right.
But Jesus said, I have come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. This kind of life is what ought to motivate a person to want to be saved. To have the kind of life that Jesus offers. A life that's more abundant than the life I'm living right now. I mean, this life is sure enough uncertain. I can be on top of the mountain today, but down in the valley tomorrow. His life is uncertain. Job said a man's life ain't but a few days, and them there few days are full of trouble. James says your life is like a vapor that appears for a little while and then it vanishes away. What is your life in comparison to eternal life? And this kind of life that Jesus describes ought to motivate us to want to be saved. Jesus says that he that believeth on him. John 3:16 shall not perish, but shall have everlasting life. A life that never has to cease. A life that doesn't culminate with me going to the cemetery. A life involved with no doctor visits. A life where there is no agony and no pain. Talking about an eternal life. An eternal life means to be free from sin. Romans chapter 6 verses 18 and 22. Eternal life means to live with Christ. Romans chapter 6 and verse number 8. Eternal life is to walk in the newness of life. Romans chapter 6 and verse number 4. Eternal life is to be one in Jesus Christ. Galatians chapter 3 verses 26 through 28. In eternal life is to be a partaker of the promise in Christ. Ephesians chapter 3 and verse number 6. The eternal life is to be delivered from the power of darkness. Colossians chapter 1 and verse number 13. To have life is to seek those things which are above. Colossians chapter 3 and verse number 1. To have life is to let the word of Christ dwell in me richly. Colossians chapter 3 and verse number 16. To have life is to be a member of the one body. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse number 13. To have life is to be a child of God. John chapter 1 and verse number 12. To have life is to receive remission of sins. Acts chapter 2 and verse number 38. To have life is to have my sins washed away. Acts chapter 22 and verse number 16. To have life is to be justified and sanctified. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse number 11. To have life is to be added to the church of Christ. Acts chapter 2 and verse number 47. To have life is to have my name written in the book of life. Philippians chapter 4 and verse number 3. To have life is to have access to the tree of life. Revelation chapter 22 and verse number 14. To have life is to make heaven my eternal home. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and beginning at verse number 1. To have that kind of life means I'll have no more pain. To have that kind of life means there's no more misery. To have that kind of life, there's no more trials and tribulations. To have that kind of life is to say there's no more suffering. There's no more sorrow and no more need for salvation, because everybody who is already saved is the one that will receive everlasting life. And just to have that life is to be able to be in the presence of God and His Son. It's to be able to tell Him thank you for all that He's done for you. To have everlasting life is to be in that place called heaven, that prepared place that's for a prepared people, and to be able to just tell Him thank you for doing for me what I could not do for myself. When I get to that life, I can spend eternity with He who died for me. I'll be able to say thank you for walking the streets of Jerusalem. I can tell Him thank you for walking the streets of Jericho. I can tell Him thank you for healing the sick and for raising the dead. I can tell Him thank you for feeding 5,000 hungry souls with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. I can tell Him thank you for climbing up Calvary's hill. I can say thank you that on that cross for me you didn't refuse to lie still. I can tell Him thank you for letting them put nails in your sweet hands. I can say thank you for fulfilling salvation's plan. I can say thank you for letting them hang you on that old rugged cross. I can tell Him thank you because my soul, you didn't want to be lost. I can say thank you for letting them pierce you in the side. Oh Lord, I thank you that you hung your head for me and you died. It wasn't